So Crack Magazine is best known for its satire and cartoons. Now they're wading into the gun debate with a new anti-NRA video. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Cracked Senior Editor Josh Sargent, and the Second Amendment guarantees an individual's right to keep a firearm for personal defense. This has been, across the board, the accepted interpretation since all the way back in 2008, because that was when the Supreme Court overturned 200 years of earlier decisions, all of which had said the exact opposite. If you're under a different impression about what that amendment meant, then don't feel bad, because everybody else was too. Even Michael Moore, in the middle of his documentary about how much guns sucked, didn't think to challenge this.
Why don't you unload the gun?
Because the Second Amendment gives me the right to have it loaded.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree with that.
This misconception all comes back to one organization, the NRA. Far be it from me to criticize the work of one of America's most powerful lobbying groups, so I'll just let Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger do it for me.
A well-regulated militia being necessary for the defense of the state, the people's rights to bear arms. This has been the subject of one of the greatest pieces of fraud, I repeat the word fraud, on the American public by special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime.
That guy was appointed by Ronald Republican Jesus Reagan.
See, everything about this video reeks of hipster superiority complex garbage. How else do you explain this turtle shell glasses wearing Linkin Park reject, who I'm sure has too cool for school reasons for his Freudian ear piercing fetish, saying I shouldn't trust one of the organizations that every anti-gun politician and organization says is the sole reason why they can't pass the moronic gun control measures? There's nothing dumber than the idea that Americans don't have an individual right to own guns. A militia is composed of the people, not the government. If our founders didn't trust governments, foreign or domestic, why would they write an amendment requiring the people to go to the government to get permission to get their guns to fight off the same government? Imagine on the day before your home gets broken into, you have to walk over to the robber's house, ask him to borrow a gun to fight him off with when he breaks into your house. Even crazier, this guy tries to make the case that I shouldn't trust the NRA because low-level members ousted the senior members who they thought were too soft on the gun issues. Yet, this video begins with Chester Bennington telling me that it's a misconception that the Second Amendment preserves my individual right to own a firearm. Hell, the way you're going about it, I want to give them more money. Oh, and of course, he goes into the NRA prevented the CDC from doing research on guns, while acknowledging that the lead researcher was quoted saying he was going to systematically build the case that owning firearms causes death, followed by another researcher saying he wanted a long-term campaign to convince Americans that guns are a public health menace. I'm sorry, but when you make these statements before conducting research, you telling me, oh, but it would be unbecoming of me to be biased in my research ain't gonna cut it. And even after the ban has been lifted, you're still blaming the NRA because, as he put it, young researchers are too scared to conduct research on guns because it might destroy their career. But let's not forget that Bloomberg spends almost twice as much doing the same research and continues to do so. Oh, and please stop with the whole NRA doesn't represent gun owners, and it only represents the gun manufacturers. You ambitious imbeciles say this all the time, like you've just cracked the Da Vinci Code. There is no gun control, there's no gun culture without gun manufacturers. Where do you think I get my guns from? You think I'm making them in my basement? The NRA can't represent gun owners if it doesn't also protect the very industry that produces the damn guns, and the NRA can't protect the industry if it doesn't protect the rights of the people who are the ones buying the guns. Like, how is this not common sense? Come on, man, you're wearing your dad's suit. I would like to think that little common sense, by the way, of osmosis or something like that should have happened at some point, but apparently it hasn't. I mean, come on. This is a guy who actually said that the reason gun sales spike after a mass shooting is because we have fantasies of wanting to shoot down bad guys in a public place. This is the dense mentality we are facing. People who refuse to see the legitimacy of self-defense. We don't buy guns after a mass shooting because we have Call of Duty fantasies. It's because reality can be incredibly sobering sometimes. And people don't want to be a victim if they can do something about it. And last I checked, that's called being free with inalienable rights. This video is nothing more than the proverbial, are you really happy with him game that some guys use to get married women to sleep with them. It's the tactic of a sleazeball. Find every single imperfection, no matter how trivial, and magnify it to distract from the glaring positives. It's how Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden. Except the snake in this story is a malnourished hipster with too much time on his hands. Think about it. If the NRA was so bad at protecting your gun rights, why even bother with a video like this? You don't. You don't make a video like this about an organization that's not a threat. I talk about people like Bloomberg and groups like Moms Demand Action because they're an actual threat to my Second Amendment right. They are the best anti-gun group out there, second only to the mainstream media. And Lord knows I mention them every 2 seconds because what they do is dangerous to my interests as a gun owner. The same way what the NRA does is dangerous to their interests as the anti-gun goof troop. So miss me with the whole NRA ain't really holding you down serpent speech. Because if you had your way, I'd be paying dues to the National Remember When We Had the Second Amendment Association. So, earlier, you heard me talking about Chris Strong in this new episode that's coming out that I actually haven't even quite seen yet. I just remember it from when I did it. And it was an episode that was incredibly important to me. But also, I'm going to check out a new kind of federal ammo with Julie Golub in this episode. The new episode of Noir came out today only on NRA TV. And I'm pretty sure you guys will check it out either there or check it out on my YouTube channel. I had a good time with Julie. I underestimated how great of a shooter she actually was until we actually got out there and started shooting. Nonetheless, it was really fun. And I got to say, in many ways, this was one of my more favorite episodes. So be sure to check it out tonight when I upload it. Or if you want to watch it now, just head over to NRATV.com and watch it for yourself. I'm Colion Noir, and as always, it is a pleasure sitting here and speaking with you guys today. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Seeing Live.